Hey, welcome in another month of a tip with Price Labs. We're always talking Price Labs, really 101, and helping you to be able to get started with Price Labs because it can be a really intimidating experience. But we have the CEO, Richie Kondawal, on here on my YouTube channel every single month to just walk you through and help you get comfortable with Price Labs and how to be able to set it up. And if you're wondering, well, what is Price Labs? And you probably haven't been watching my YouTube channel long enough because I'm talking about it all the time. It helped me to be able to increase my nightly rates, increase my income, and increase my occupancy really through an automated process. That's what dynamic pricing is. It helps to just determine what the prices will be based on supply and demand. And for that reason, it makes it a lot easier of a process. You don't have to go and price things manually all the time. You just get to go ahead and automatically see your prices popping up to be able to be the most competitive in the market. And that's why I'm excited for you to try Price Labs. If after today, which by the way, today we're going to be talking about how to be able to set up a listing from scratch with Richie here on the Fearless Investor YouTube channel. But if you are ready to go do that on your own now, all you got to do is go to fearlesskyle.com/Price Labs. You get a free 30-day trial and an onboarding training to be able to help you to really just get off to the best start. Again, fearlesskyle.com/Price Labs. And Richie, I'm excited, man. Like, I just want to take it from the get-go. I just uploaded my listing. I just got started. I see all these options with Price Labs. And the first thing is analysis paralysis. Like, oh my gosh, what do I set up? And I just want to help people to be able to get to a spot where they can easily get this thing streamlined. So take it away, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kyle. And I'm going to start with sharing my screen here, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're going to do this. Cool. Can you see my screen?
I can.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you. So firstly, before I even dive in, let me just say that Price Labs has a ton of bells and whistles. It is designed for someone who's an absolute starter to someone who's been doing revenue management for a really long time and they want to do whatever, right? And it's kind of akin to sitting in a cockpit of an airplane, right? You can run it on autopilot, but you also have these tons of knobs that you can play around with. But honestly, for Price Labs to work, we don't have to turn on every knob. Sometimes we may want to know about every knob, but today, if you're starting out on your revenue management journey, if you're fresh, we're going to talk and touch on important things to set up in Price Labs that should get you going, right? You don't need to touch everything. And that's not to say that maybe in a month's time, in 2 months' time, in 3 months' time, you may want to come back to Price Labs and you may now want to tweak things after you've been used to dynamic pricing for a while. But if you're starting out, we're going to touch on the things that we are going to set up so that you can get the best out of Price Labs.
Yeah, just keeping it simple and really letting it do its thing so that you're not overriding stuff and making it too complicated.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. We're going to start with a property. I have a property here. It's a hotel kind of property. It has 3 rooms inside that property. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. When you come into Price Labs, you'd see a similar screen depending on what kind of properties you have. You're going to see the property name. You're going to see a review prices button. You're going to see these min-based max prices not set up. And you're going to see some 7, 30, 60-day occupancies. Now, my property is a demo property, so it does not have any occupancies. Yours might, depending on what kind of occupancy you have. This data takes some time to load before it shows up. Cool. First thing we're going to do is we're going to click this review prices button. We're going to calculate the prices for your property based on where your property is located, right? And existing prices that you already had on this property. Now, if you had some kind of dummy prices, our base price recommendation right now that is here may not work as well, because what we're looking at is we're assuming you knew a little bit about already pricing your property. We are going to start that off as base price. Base price is the average price that you charge throughout the year. Now, if you had some random prices, don't worry about it. What we're going to do is we're going to dive in here and we're going to click help me choose a base price. That's the first thing we're going to do. Okay. I am not going to dive too deep into this because Kyle and I did a webinar just on help me choose your base price. And Kyle probably knows the details of how you can access this. Kyle, do you want to add that flavor?
Yeah, in fact, we'll just go ahead and plop it right into the video right here. Should have just popped up in your right-hand corner. so that you can go and watch that. And if you do want to just go ahead and search in the YouTube channel, you can't find it, just go to our YouTube channel and search for Price Labs minimum price, and that'll be simple enough.
Base price, Price Labs base price.
Base price. Thank you.
No worries. All right. So let's assume you've watched that video. We've set up a base price. We've set up a base price of 148. The next thing that we want to do is we've set up a base price, which is the average price that you're going to charge throughout the year. We do want to set up a minimum price. That's like a threshold that you tell us that you never want to go below, right? We have our own safety cutoffs so that we never go below, but sometimes people may want to be, and I'll show you, if you hover on any of these dates, if you look at the last two or second and third row from the bottom, you see a safety max and a safety min. Now, our safety min is we will never go below 44, and our safety max for your property is 10x of your base price, which is we'll never go above 1480, right? Now, that does not mean that is right for you, right? As a property owner, you may want to say, I have whatever, depending on your own constraints, you may want to say, I don't want to go below 90, right? And then knowing my property, at least today, starting out, I don't feel super comfortable. I want to maybe cap it at 500, right? And that's absolutely fine. So we set up a minimum price, we've set up a base price, we set up a maximum price. If you're unsure about minimum price, the general guideline that I use with most people is to say, put it at 30% lower than your base price.
Okay.
Right.
That's good to know.
That's the general guideline that I use. But of course, you may know better. Like, are you okay with a night staying empty at 90, or would you drop it down to 80? Whatever you're comfortable with, right? And the reason why we're doing this is Price Labs. Now you've given Price Labs a range. Price Labs can fluctuate the prices from 90 to 500 and set the best price, right? Once we do this, we're going to click, remember these numbers, you're seeing these 89, 88, whatever, right? If you see this 89 and 88, we've set up a minimum price of 90. That means the numbers will never go below 90. We're going to click save and refresh. And you'd see this page reload with, if you see it, it's loaded everything at 90. Cool.
It didn't change everything else that much, but it changed those first
exactly.
few days.
So because that's like the threshold, if you think of it, right? We're calculating prices off of your base 148, and we're going up on some days and low on some days and whatever, right? And the reason 90 is a threshold. Even if my recommended price was going below 90, because you've told me 90 is the threshold, I'm never going to go below that. So if I show that to you on, for example, a hover, if you look at my screen right now, and if you look at fourth from the top, there is a price with default discounts, and you see that price with default discounts would have been 88 had I not set a floor. But because I've set a floor of 90, the price is going to be 90.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good to know. That's always been something for me when you hover over that. I've always wondered about a little bit of what those numbers are. So that even brings a little bit of clarity for me.
Brilliant. And this is something that is going to change in another month or two, where this layout will change. But yeah, price with default discounts is if you had not changed anything in Price Labs, what Price Labs would have said for that day.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we're going to quickly look at this calendar. What you're going to see is at the bottom of this calendar, there is a legend. I'm not going to stick to a legend because we keep tweaking things around. And once we tweak things around, so that legend may change, something to get familiar with, but fairly straightforward in the sense that this color is like a normal, green color is the normal demand. Light green, you're not seeing it right now here. And the light blue is good demand, and you're not seeing a high demand day right now. We're going to say flip to December. I know where this property is located, which is why this property is located in Miami. So I kind of know, ignore this move from me, but so I kind of know how this property is going to be. And so I expect it to be a high season in December. And so you see that dark blue colors, right? I'm not sure why this 6 and 7 are particularly low days outside of everything. And second, third, fourth, because usually you won't expect it, but this 2023 Monday is second. So usually if you get Saturday, Sunday on 2nd and 3rd, you get that long extended New Year holiday.
Yep.
But unfortunately, all of us would have to probably come back to work on 2nd this year.
I call that the holiday hangover.
That exactly right. But unfortunately, many of us will come back to work on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, which is why you're seeing this to be even relatively lower priced, right? Cool. So that's the basic. We've set up a minimum price, we've set up a base price, we've set up a maximum price, and we've started to understand the colors. We've started to understand some bit of the hover, right? On the hover, let's stay here. We're going to start from the top. Currency is fairly straightforward. The currency of your listing, we get this from the system that you connect. Price is the price for that day. Uncustomized price is our raw recommendation. We're almost thinking about removing it. It has limited sense for a customer. This is more our data science team to know what the uncustomized price is. Price with default discounts. This is right now, the price and price with default discounts is same because we have not made any tweaks. If we started making tweaks to the algorithm, you could see your price deviating from the price with default discounts. Multi-unit occupancy, like I said, this is a hotel property. It has 0 occupancy today, but you're seeing that 0/3 number,
Right.
which is none of the units are occupied. Again, it's a dummy property. None of the units are occupied, and there are 3 properties in that hotel, right? 3 rooms in that hotel. And neighborhood occupancy, how occupied is your neighborhood on that day? Market factor, seasonality, like seasonally, is this a high demand period or not a high demand period? Demand factor specific to that day, is that a high demand day, or is that a regular demand day, or is that a low demand day compared to its peer days, right? So a couple of days to the left and a couple of days to the right. Seasonality takes care of the bulk movement, and demand factor takes care of just on average, like on days, shoulder days around it. How is this particular day doing?
Yeah. So, and I just want to point out something here really quick, because all you've done so far is just set a minimum, a base, and a maximum. And this is why I want to stop right here, is because people really overcomplicate this. They get into customizations, they get into the minimum night stays, they get into the far out bookings and all that. And that's where this really can get complicated. But you've just literally set 3 numbers. You checked your prices. You like where your prices are at. You went and checked in December too, where you know it's going to be a higher month, and you like the way everything looks. I mean, you could literally just press sync now on this right now, aside from having a minimum and maybe if you wanted to a maximum day set. Aside from that, this is pretty good to go.
This and like fairly good to go. We're going to do a few checks now. And then we'd be absolutely good to go, right? So for a base level check, what we're going to do is we're going to pop into this neighborhood data tab, right? And we're going to touch into some basics, but Kyle has already asked me to do a more in-depth review of I'm not sure what happened here. More in-depth review of neighborhood data. And so we're going to do that, I want to say next month. And so we're going to get into that.
And I'm excited to do that with you, because neighborhood data is really where I like to do most of my training and get into things, because that's the fun one for me. That when you can start to compare yourself to the competition, now you get a really good idea of how you're performing. But yeah, if we can go over just some minimum or just some base information here with neighborhood data, would love to be able to show them that.
So neighborhood data has a ton of information. We're not going to touch on all of that today. We're going to touch on, again, the basics of how to set up your property. So when you pop in here, you're going to see your listing bedroom count, which is 1 bedroom in this case for me. And you're also going to see, I have selected this 1 bedroom, but you may see a broader selection, because some people, maybe they have like a 4-bedroom property. So you don't want to just compare that 4-bedroom property with 4-bedroom property. You may want to compare it with 3-bedroom and 5-bedroom as well, depending on the type, right? A 1-bedroom property can just be compared with 1-bedroom property very, very easily. So I've already pre-selected that filter of 1 bedroom versus 1 bedroom. And now I want us to focus on this graph right here. There are multiple graphs that we can look at, and I'm also going to hide some things because I just want to look at something very, very basic. Cool. Okay. all that I want you to focus on here today is the black line. So I'm actually going to get rid of every other color as well, because we're going to touch that in the neighborhood data video.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look at my prices and I'm going to say, okay, this is what Price Labs is recommending. This is what, for example, I believe this would be the Thanksgiving weekend. This is what Price Labs is recommending for Thanksgiving weekend. This is what Price Labs is recommending for New Year's Eve. And this is what Price Labs is recommending for, I don't know what this weekend is in Miami, but something's happening here, right?
Something is happening.
Yeah, exactly, right. And okay, so this is what Price Labs is recommending. Sometimes as a owner or as a property manager, you may know, oh, for New Year's 296 is great, but I actually never want to go below I never want to go below 250, right?
Yeah.
Now what will happen is, as Price Labs is moving this, right, it may sometimes say, okay, on like if the property is not booked, we're going to decrease rates because we're still learning about your property, right? So you may want to come in and say, okay, hey, on New Year's, like this 256, 296 is great, but I actually want to threshold it at a certain price, right?
Mhm.
I don't want to go below that. And then I'm looking at something, let's say, maybe this is Good Friday. I'm not sure what it is. I'm actually not very familiar with Miami market, but let's say whatever this is. Let's assume this is an event that we know, Jan 27th, 28th, and I'm going to put a minimum threshold here as well, because these are the two events that I know. I have some familiarity, how much money I can make. I'm going to pop into calendar, and I'm going to go to December, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to just select these dates. I'm going to drag select them. I'm going to, once you drag select it, it'll automatically say the start date, end date. If you want to tweak it, you can of course click and tweak it again. But then I'm not going to change anything on the pricing, etc. I'm just going to set up a minimum price of 250. What that tells me is, if you remember, we had set up a minimum price of 90. So Price Labs can never go below 90.
Right.
But what I've also done is, hey, on this New Year's weekend or New Year's week, don't go below 250. I have fair amount of confidence that this property is booked at about 250, right?
Yeah.
So regardless of what's happening in the market dynamics, we will not go below 250. Now, at some point, if you don't feel comfortable, you can come remove it, and we'll do that just in a second, right? So I've set up a minimum. Remember, we've set up a minimum. We've not changed the price. We've not changed the recommendation. We've just set that threshold just how we did for 90. We've
Yeah.
set for a certain day, right? And similarly, we could do it for other holidays as well. Now, if you wanted to remove it, you could come click it and you can just click remove, and it will remove that date, right?
Perfect.
So hopefully that helps. This is a hack. This is a hacky thing. If you sometimes some owners want to get a quote for a certain day, a quick hack way to get a quote from Price Labs is, if you drag select on these dates, at the bottom of this, you're going to see the total ADR price, the ADR, average daily rate, and the total price for that reservation. Of course, you have to add the cleaning fees and taxes and whatever.
Right. Okay.
As a quick hack if
Cool.
you wanted to.
I
So
like it.
we have done this, and at this point, from a pricing perspective, I feel generally comfortable syncing properties, right?
So
We're going to break. Yeah, sorry.
yeah,
Go
well,
on,
I was
Faz.
gonna say, Richie, I really love what you've showed us here. There's one more thing. I know we want to go into a deeper dive in neighborhood data, but
Yeah,
I do think, for me personally, there's one thing that I always like to make sure of. And so you unselected all the other ones, but I would love
yeah,
if you reselected the market 50th to
let's do it.
75th, that darker
Yeah,
one. And this is where I really want to impress on people when they first get started, especially if you're just getting started with Price Labs, making sure in the next 60 days to 90 days that you're really competitive with the market. And so, yeah, if you select that, you can do the 60 days. Look at that. I mean, we're basically hovering in the middle to sometimes even below that market 50th percentile. And maybe you come in with Price Labs and you already have 100 5-star reviews, and you can be like, well, no, I'm better than the 75th percentile. I'm in the 90th. Then look at that. But if you're a brand new listing and you're wanting to build those reviews up, you can see like, hey, yeah, I'm pretty much middle of the pack right now. And I know my property can eventually get more, but I want to get those reviews right now. And so I can compare to the market without having to go on Airbnb and look at every single property individually, and taking into account the fact that a lot of people don't even know what they're doing there. So this is the comparison that I like to make right away, just to make sure in the next couple months that I'm competitively priced. And then after that, if it's going crazy a little bit, I can always make some adjustments a couple months in.
100%. Thank you for pointing that out. One additional thing that I would highlight: a lot of people who may come from hotel kind of pricing mindset, right? They used to saying my property's percentile is 50th percentile or 60th percentile, right? The true value of dynamic pricing is that this like where your property stands in comparison to your competition varies by the day. If it's going to be a low demand day, we're going to probably go below, like Kyle said, we're going to go below 50th percentile even, right? Sometimes even drop to 20th percentile, 25th percentile. But if it's like a high demand day, I am as high as possible, right? Because that day I know a lot of market's going to get booked and I'm going to be very high.
Yep, absolutely. Richie, this is awesome. There is still more I want to go into with customizations, but if you are checking this out right now, click on the next video. It's popping up for you right now, or you can go down to the description. It's called Airbnb's Price Labs 101 Part 2, and we'll go ahead and get into customizations. Thanks, Richie.